When I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. I set out on a journey to regain 15,382 hours, or 641 days back in free time, by working a 4-day week. But why? I was born in the 90s in Ireland in a time that was called the Celtic Tiger. It was a time of booming economic prosperity for our country, and the idea that time is money was embedded within the Irish psyche. As a teenager, though, I experienced the largest global economic recession that we've seen since the Great Depression, and I saw how many families, including our own, struggled to make ends meet. As a young professional then, I entered into the world of work during the largest pandemic that we've seen in over a century. And it was during that time that I found, as a society, we had a collective wake-up as to what the important things are. Namely the times that we spend with ourselves and with our families and friends. What I've learned over the years is that when we prioritise money above all else, it will often disappoint us. So when I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. Realising that I'm not able to keep up with the pace of change of our society, I said that I needed to do something different. Time is the great equaliser. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. And so therefore, gifting myself more time helped to provide a little bit more certainty in what is an increasingly uncertain world. My aim is to create 1 million new years of free time, which sounds a bit mad. But let's break it down. When you look at the majority of the world, embarking on a 4-day week would actually help to create about 50 additional days in a year, equivalent to about 10 working weeks across a year, and across 5 years would be equivalent to 1 year of working time. With that in mind then, this is not just a journey that I'm on, but there are global trials happening. Here in the United Kingdom to Japan, from Australia to Brazil. But why should we be doing this? Why a 4-day week? As a society, we are facing so many challenges right now. We have a rising climate crisis that we are struggling to get our hands on top of. We have seen growing inequities within our society since the global pandemic. We have rising public health concerns due to issues like chronic disease. And we have fluctuating economies that can't seem to find stability. As a result, the 4-day week may be the intervention that we require in order to provide more stability in our lives. What I want you to think about here today is, what might a 4-day world look like? A world where we prioritise more sustainable practices within people. A world where we have empowered people to lead more balanced lives. So intrinsic to all of that is making people more time affluent, not time poor. The average American commutes about 54 hours to and from work every year, according to the US Census Bureau. Not only is that a huge impact on the environment, but it's a huge cost on their time as well. Global trials being conducted by 4-day week Global in conjunction with Boston College have found that we're able to reduce commuting time by up to 36 minutes per person per week when people embark on a 4-day week. When you extrapolate that to a larger population size, we might be able to make a positive impact on carbon footprint. A study in the Journal of Industrial Ecology found that we can reduce energy consumption by up to 30% when we bring in reduced working hours. Considering the energy crises that so much of our world is facing right now, wouldn't that be a good thing? What's really interesting though is actually what people do when they get time back. We often hear the narrative, I don't have enough time. But actually, what we find in people who are embarked on 4-day week trials is that they use that time not to do more work, but actually to give back to their communities. We see greater levels of volunteering, greater levels of community development, and as a result, we create a much more equipoised society. Which leads to the second benefit of a 4-day week.
Reducing working hours may act as a beacon of hope for building more equality within our world. According to the Pew Research Centre, up to 42% of working mothers in the US have to reduce their working hours in order to look after an elderly parent or look after their children. Only last year, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Professor Claudia Goldin, was rewarded for her work on the emergence of the gender pay gap between men and women. In particular, what her research found was that while both genders may start at similar salaries at the beginning of their career, the gender pay gap emerges at the ages of parenthood and widens across the career. Women are always going to lose out because we use time as an arbitrary metric to define dedication in an organisation. In 4-day-week trials, the philosophy towards work fundamentally changes. We focus much more on rewarding output as opposed to time. And as a result, those who aren't time affluent are better able to perform in workplaces and be rewarded as such. Equally important, though, in the culture of conversation around the future of work is the approach and the milieu around men and work. What we saw in the UK trial of a 4-day week was that parenting time by men doubled up to 35%. When we looked at what caused that, we asked those men, and many of them said that for the first time, they felt organisational permission to actually take time off work. Because 4-day week is a policy for all, as opposed to a flexible working policy like other policies, we are able to create more parity between the genders outside of the workplace. This is such a critical conversation in our future of work conversations. If we have any hope of building a more equal world, we need to bring men on board. As a man hoping to be a father in the future, that idea kind of daunts me, the idea of juggling work and parenthood. Because I've seen generations before me struggle to be able to find that balance in dual income households. So therefore, rewarding people with more time off may be the best thing to actually build more sustainable health and well-being within our people, which is the third benefit of a 4-day week. Your health is your wealth, or so the saying would go, but yet we are constantly sacrificing ourselves in the name of our work. Research has shown that longer working hours is associated with an increased risk of developing stroke, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. In fact, the World Health Organization defines occupational stress as a leading cause of these diseases. When we look at working hours, we should be also looking at the conversation around mental health. We constantly put money as the saviour of all of our woes, but it will often let us down. Longer working hours has been associated with increased levels of anxiety, depression, and worsened emotional well-being. Luckily, it's not all despondent. In reduced working hour trials, the antithesis is also true. So we have found that people are able to engage in greater levels of physical activity, they're able to sleep more, and most importantly, they're able to report lower levels of stress, one of the biggest issues we're now facing as a society. Crucially, what people are reporting is that they are getting psychological needs fulfilled outside of their work, because for the first time, they have time to look and care for people that they love for, and most importantly, to do the things that they actually want to do in the first place. We've talked a lot about how the world of work is actually impacting on us and our society, but equally important in this conversation is actually about how we are impacting on the world of work. According to Gallup's State of the Global Workforce, only about 12% of us are actually engaged in our work. The World Health Organization has reported that up to $1 trillion is lost annually in productivity due to issues of stress in the workplace. What's quite evident is that the world of work is not working for us. And so as a result of that, we find ourselves perpetually time-starved, a situation that we have largely imposed upon ourselves. But What if we gifted ourselves more time? When I turned 27, I made a decision to change my life. And now I work for an organisation called 4 Day Week Global, and we're attempting to change the lives of many. In Bronnie Ware's book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, 2 of those regrets are, I wish I had lived a life more authentic to myself, and I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I believe these 2 regrets are really intrinsically linked with our current philosophy to work. So today, join us in helping to create a sustainable, equal and healthy world. Join us in helping to create a 4-day world. And join us in helping to create 1 million new years of free time. Thank you.